Have you dabbled into cold cases and some of them make chills run down your body? No matter how many puzzle pieces are laid out on the table, somehow there's still so much missing to have a complete picture?
A very ominous opening for today's episode, Josh. What do we have in store for our audience today?
You would find it very fitting, Nick, because today we're going to talk about the 9 most mysterious crimes in the world.
Welcome everyone to Eventful Insights. You heard Josh over here. Today, we're going to list down the top 9 coldest cases there are that had the both of us scratching our heads and leaving us clueless.
That's right, Nick. But before that, let's put our audience's knowledge to the test. Would you be able to answer this question? Do you know how old JonBenet Ramsey was when she mysteriously died? Time is up. You'll have to tune into this video to know the answer. But for now, let's get started.
Our top 9 on the list would have to be Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, went missing on January 31, 2013, during her stay at the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Several weeks later, her body was discovered in a rooftop water tank on the hotel property. The last known footage of Lam, captured by a grainy elevator security camera at the Cecil, revealed her appearing frantic and paranoid.
This case still bothers me until now, Nick.
Me too. It really creeps me out how they found her body, Josh. I read that there were guests who complained about the water in the hotel, and when they investigated the tanks, they found Lam's body inside. What bothers me more is that some noted that you couldn't open the tank alone due to its heaviness.
Do you think someone was after her?
Everything checks out, and it seems that would be the most plausible explanation.
We won't know for now. Let's not dwell too much on this and move on to our next case. Our top 8 in the list would be the severed feet of Pacific Northwest Salish Sea. Since 2007, over 20 severed feet encased in shoes have been discovered on the beaches lining the Salish Sea, situated between Western Canada and Washington State. The mystery surrounding their origin has confounded investigators for years.
That is very gruesome and unnerving, Josh.
It truly is morbid, Nick. I think I wouldn't go anywhere near the shores after hearing that. Now, our top 7 on the list would be about the murders of Barry and Honey Sherman. The tragic event known as the murders of Barry and Honey Sherman unfolded on December 15, 2017, when the 75-year-old couple was discovered lifeless in their Toronto mansion. Their bodies were found in a semi-seated position side by side, with belts tied around their necks and connected to the railing of their indoor pool. Initially considered a double suicide, the investigation later revealed that the deaths were, in fact, a result of double homicide.
I think this is one of our latest investigations here in the list. Regarding the investigation, Toronto police have identified people of interest in the case, though no arrests have been made to date.
I assure you that our top 6 in the list is just as bothersome, Nick. We have the murder of the Dardeen family. The Dardeen family murders took place on November 17th to 18th, 1987, in Ina, Illinois, USA, involving the victims Russell Keith Dardeen, age 29, his wife Ruby Elaine Dardeen, age 30, and their 20-month-old son, Peter. Elaine was also 7 months pregnant with their second child. Despite the passage of time, the case remains unsolved.
The case is marked by its gruesomeness, with the motive behind the brutal killings remaining unknown. Autopsies conducted on the victims' bodies were inconclusive regarding the order of their deaths, but it was determined that all 3 were killed within an hour or two. While reading this case, I really felt a heavy weight on my chest, Josh.
I did too, Nick. They were just a normal family living their lives. It's truly a tragedy. I think we need to take a short breather before continuing with the cases.
You're right, Josh. How about another trivia question? How did the Zodiac Killer get his moniker? And time is up. We'll explain later on in this video, so bear with us for a while.
Going back, our top 5 in the list would be the case of the Black Dahlia. The Black Dahlia case pertains to the brutal murder of Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress, which occurred in Los Angeles on January 15, 1947. Her lifeless body was discovered on a sidewalk in the Leimert Park neighborhood, where she had been drained of blood and gruesomely sliced in half. Despite investigations, the case remains unresolved, shrouded in mystery, as the identity of the killer remains elusive.
The scene included her body being posed in a mannequin-like manner, and some of her organs had been removed and strategically placed beneath her. I think almost everyone knows about this case. Don't you think so too, Josh?
Of course, Nick. It's been a mystery until now who killed her after all. But our top 5 off the list is just as infamous. We have the case of JonBenet Ramsey. JonBenet Ramsey, a 6-year-old beauty pageant contestant, was tragically found murdered in her family's Boulder, Colorado home on December 26, 1996. The distressing discovery took place in the basement, revealing that she had been sexually assaulted, beaten, and strangled with a garrote. Unfortunately, the case remains unsolved, and no one has been charged in connection with her murder.
This really saddened me, Josh. It was a life cut too short.
You're right, Nick. I can't imagine what kind of evil person would want to harm a child.
Absolutely, Josh. Thankfully, our next case isn't gruesome at all. At top 4, we have the case of D.B. Cooper. The D.B. Cooper incident relates to the well-known unsolved hijacking of Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, a Boeing 727, in the United States on November 24, 1971. The hijacker, initially self-identified as Dan Cooper, misreported as D.B. Cooper by the media, successfully obtained ransom money upon the plane's landing in Seattle, Washington. Subsequently, he parachuted out of the aircraft with the money.
I have to say, Nick, that's a pretty cool thing to do, but I'm not trying to encourage our audience to do the same.
I'm sure they wouldn't be able to get away even if they tried, Josh. I think airline securities are much tighter now.
I couldn't agree more, Nick. Now, for our top 3, we have the case of the women in Ciudad Juarez. The Women of Ciudad Juarez case encompasses the gruesome murders of over 500 women and girls in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, spanning from 1993 to 2011. Predominantly affecting young women, many involved in sex work, the victims were often discovered in the desert with evidence of rape, beatings, and mutilation.
The case has gained global recognition for the pervasive violence, the legal impunity granted to criminals, and the state's apparent silence and negligence.
That is truly brutal, Nick. I didn't know there was such a case going on in Mexico.
Me too, Josh. It's important for cases like this to be given media attention.
I agree, Nick. Now for our top 2, we have Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper, an unidentified serial killer, operated in and around the impoverished Whitechapel district of London, England, in 1888. The perpetrator was responsible for the savage murders of at least 5 women, known as the canonical 5 victims, who were predominantly women of the streets. The killings involved strangulation, throat cutting, and mutilation post-mortem. This case stands out as one of the most renowned unsolved mysteries in English crime history, with Jack the Ripper's identity never having been established. Despite the passage of time, Jack the Ripper's enigma continues to captivate the public's imagination, remaining an enduring and unsolved mystery.
Who wouldn't know Jack the Ripper? And I think our top 1 is just as infamous and maybe still living out there. We have the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer, an unidentified serial murderer, operated in and around the San Francisco Bay Area during the late 1960s and early 1970s. He is directly associated with at least 5 killings, though he asserted responsibility for up to 37 deaths. The killer engaged with law enforcement by taunting them and issuing threats through letters sent to local newspapers from 1969 to 1974, abruptly ceasing communication thereafter. He consistently signed these letters with his symbol and gave himself the moniker of Zodiac Killer in his letters.
Each letter also contained one part of a 3-part cipher, supposedly holding his identity, which remains unsolved to this day. The killer's identity remains elusive, and the case remains unresolved. Although numerous suspects, including Arthur Lee Allen and Earl Van Best Jr., have been considered, none have been conclusively confirmed as the Zodiac Killer. This case has inspired various books, documentaries, and television specials, solidifying its status as one of the most prominent unsolved murder mysteries in American history.
To be honest, that was such a heavy list to go through.
I feel the same, Nick. Many innocent lives in this list deserve justice, and it's heartbreaking to think that they may never get it.
I think for now, we could only hope for the best that justice will be served.
That's true, Nick. But I'm afraid our list ends here, and that is all for today's video, everyone. If you want to watch more stories like this, Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell to get notified on our next video. Thanks for watching.